viewers, this is Ubuntu TV's Diplomatic Square program. For today, we're having the Azerbaijani Chargé d'Affaires for Djibouti, Kenya, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. We will have conversations on some international issues and Azerbaijan's bilateral relationship with Ethiopia. But before conducting the interview, we will visit Azerbaijani embassy and follow us. It's a very beautiful city. And there are similar words in there. The Edirne words, Edirne Kapı, the old Istanbul words.
Yes, oldest.
They're similar, right?
In what century was this built?
18th,
18th.
17th.
It's preserved very well. It's a
Yeah.
Yes, it was always a fortress. Shusha, it was a cultural place and the capital of all entire Azerbaijan. And the Khanate which existed there, Karabakh Khanate, it was very famous. So, and during the 19th century, it was also a center of education. Cultural education, science education. So many prominent figures just grew up there, history, This is very, very special place.
How many seasons do you have?
4 seasons, now it's a summer there. It's actually closer to Addis, it's 1,800 meters above sea level.
Okay.
Altitude.
So the winters are
Winters are actually cold, -10 or something, with the snow and everything. So, but we have basically 4 seasons. If you can see, this is.
Our dear viewers, welcome back. We're back to our studio to conduct an interview with Ambassador Ruslan Nasibov, Chargé d'Affaires of Azerbaijan for Djibouti, Kenya, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. Welcome, Ambassador, to our studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you very much.
So, our viewers, I'm Munir Abdulmenan and Elias Pertesfaye will be interviewing the Ambassador. Tune on.
So again, welcome to our studio, and we're really glad to have you as a guest here. Heading to our first questions, some Western media are portraying Russia as an imperialist force, and the war in Ukraine is because of Russia's imperialist sentiment and imperialist actions. And as a former USSR country, are you kind of frightened or threatened by this kind of imperialist act by Russia? Do you think it's a cause for the war in Ukraine?
You're asking me to comment third parties' actions which are not directly related with our country. As a diplomat of Azerbaijan, I can answer you what our position is on these issues. Yes, we lived together during the Soviet Union, and currently we enjoy good relations with. We have good relations with Ukraine and Russia. We support territorial integrity of Ukraine and all of other countries. We uphold principles of international law that cannot be subjected to political preferences. That is the position of the state.
So
we're extremely, of course, concerned of ongoings there. We hope for soonest and peaceful solution of what happened.
So you're saying that the reason for the war in Ukraine is not the imperialist act of Russia. If that's so, then you don't have any reason to be threatened. So you're saying that?
The threats to our state are. Let's work on on bilateral relations what we have with surroundings around us, if you see. We border with Russia, we border with Georgia, we border with Armenia, we border with Turkey, with Iran, and across Caspian Sea with Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan also. So with all countries around us, we have and enjoy good neighborhood, except Armenia. With that country, we had a conflict. We had invasion from Armenia's armed forces into our territory. We had occupation, almost 20% of our territories. At that time, in the beginning of 90s, the number of refugees and internally displaced persons reached 1 million people out of 7.5 million of total population of our country at that time. So you understand that each seventh citizen in our country was a refugee or IDP. So can you imagine the burden on the country at that time? We had been on outskirts of the world in terms of development, with very little GDP per capita, with economy crisis, with a political crisis. Yes, but nowadays, in 2022, where we reached the level of an upper middle income country with infrastructure which competes with the developed countries and even ahead by quality of roads, for example, and effectiveness as well. We reached the level of investments increasing, closing up to $300 billion US in total in our economy. Nowadays, we're 10 million people. We have foreign currency reserves crossing the mark of $53 billion US. After the 44-day war and the restoration of territorial integrity in 2020 in autumn, we now conducting our government is conducting a large-scale works in restoration and rehabilitation works in liberated territories. We're talking about a territory which is equal to the countries like Lebanon, for example, which is absolutely razed to the ground. Infrastructure, housings, everything. Nothing exists there. So we are going to reconstruct from scratch 8 cities. 8 cities. Over 1 million people are waiting to return to these areas, and they will soon. You see the sketch of works and the scale of works which we're now conducting, and through what we had to go through to achieve it, you see. And our policy is based on Azerbaijan's and our people's interest only. Only on that. We cannot say, well, just this direction or this direction, or that direction. We are absolutely pro-Azerbaijan. We're conducting pro-Azerbaijani policy only. So we have, you see, Azerbaijan initiates cooperation formats and stability formats in the region, be it trilateral formats, for example, with Russia, Azerbaijan, and Iran, be it trilateral formats with Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, be it trilateral formats with the Central Asian countries like with Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Turkey, or others, With Uzbekistan, we recently had already also the same with Kazakhstan. So you see, we are building what we say, the security and prosperity in the region through cooperation. So that is the policy of our country. And what we have achieved already, and we are going to achieve, we are proud of this.
So Ukraine's increased economic, political, and military integration with the Western liberal countries while bordering Russia caused the war. Many people believed so. So how does your country, Azerbaijan, try to make a balance between the East and the West rivalry, because you are bordering both the West and the East countries?
As I said, our policy is absolutely pro-Azerbaijani, only pro-Azerbaijani. We follow only the course which meets our interests, which meets the interests of our people, interests of stability, and interests of wider prosperity in the region. So if we are talking about the South Caucasus, for example, in economic dimension, I would say that, as to my knowledge, which I have recently read also and obtained, over 70% of South Caucasus economy is Azerbaijan. None of projects in the region can be implemented or agreed on without Azerbaijan's participation. No. We in the end of May, on the 30th of May, we had event which I already mentioned, National Day event, our Independence Day event. In Ethiopia, we celebrated that, and they also mentioned that. They also mentioned that what I have said to all audience present there and to our guests. So we are following peace agenda in the region. We want a prosperity and stability. That is because what is the alternative to this? Can you tell me? Right? So our country is also already well known in promoting multiculturalism around the globe. We, as Ethiopia, also multicultural state, multi-confessional state. We have many similarities with Ethiopia in this. And all ethnic minorities and ethnic groups in our country, they live in peace, and they enjoy the prosperity of the country together. They enjoy all the rights and all the resources.
I understand what you're saying, but some of your pro-Azerbaijan interests might affect other countries, neighboring or non-neighboring. For example, recently, Azerbaijan doubled its natural gas supply to the EU member states, and that decision was based on the EU member state. After the EU member states decided to not buy or to minimize their demand of natural gas from Russia. So, how does Russia will take this? Does it affect you? Does it threaten the Azerbaijan just like Ukraine?
You see, okay, coming to security architecture in the region, I would like to also mention that in 2021, on 15th of June, we signed a joint declaration, presidents of Azerbaijan and Turkey signed a joint declaration on ally relationship. We're allies with Turkey. It covers all the aspects and all the fields. We're allies. In February 2022, we signed a declaration with Russia on allied interaction. It is also a very broad document. As our president and victorious commander-in-chief Ilham Aliyev said once, our signature is our action. Our word is our signature. That's what he said. So what we signed for under, we also follow as diplomats, we also follow this. What we signed under, we follow. Talking about the gas, what you just asked about, a recent deal with the EU to increase the gas supplies, natural gas supplies to Europe. We follow our interests on them. If you see in terms of volume of gas, we are not competitors with Russian gas because it's so huge. The natural gas is different from crude oil. So before extracting natural gas, you must sell it and have a market for this. Whereas a crude oil you can extract and then sell at the market. So the natural gas market is different. So that is why if EU needed more gas and we could provide, this is coming from this joint interests. And these interests are not directed at against others. And as to my knowledge, just yesterday, our Russian partners already made a statement on that, it is not interfering with our joint declaration.
So just let me add some things to the earlier question. So basically, the new gas supply might not directly affect Russia because Russia is covering almost 60% of the gas demand for the EU member states, and I think Azerbaijan is contributing about 4%. So it might not come as an immediate threat, but they might take it as a bold move. I don't know, but regarding NATO, I think it's something that Russia will take seriously, because Ukraine was requesting to be a member of the NATO, but Azerbaijan even took a joint operation with NATO, right, in Afghanistan, in Kosovo, if I'm not mistaken. So the growing relationship with the EU, Turkey and NATO, don't you think it will come as an imminent threat for Russia? I know it's pro-Azerbaijan, but...
Well, I'll answer you. Coming to relations with Turkey, we follow the policy or the concept of one nation, two states. So it has been through centuries like this. We're very close, linguistically, culturally, religiously. By all means, we're very close. And it has been through centuries. So our alliance is stipulated by history also. And we, the younger generation and coming from us, will only develop it. Yes, Turkey is a member of NATO, and we have an alliance with one member of NATO. In our foreign policy, we don't have objectives of joining NATO or any other military bloc. We just don't have it in our foreign policy. So if you see, we have a bilateral alliance with Turkey, one of leading NATO member state, and we have a allied interaction with Russia. Azerbaijan is located at the crossroads, if you see. During my speech in May, at the event dedicated to our Independence Day, I also mentioned that there is a famous proverb that all roads lead to Rome. I would actually reshape it, saying that previously all roads running through Azerbaijan. You know, so we have also quite diverse relations with Russia historically. We have over 1.5 million people living there, diaspora in Russia, which are present in all the layers and walks of society. You know, I am myself in the Soviet Union. I was born in the territory of Russia, also. So nowadays Russia, yes. At that time it was a part of the Soviet Union. So you see, we have the same big diaspora in Ukraine. It's a few hundred thousands of Azerbaijanis. So also living in Ukraine or working in Ukraine. So you see, so then when I'm talking that we have good relations with both.
So you're saying you have managed to work on a thin line between the East and the West, and you're doing it perfectly so far.
Thank you for this, characteristics. Thank you for these characteristics.
So let's talk about Azerbaijan and Armenia. As we all remember, the Azerbaijan and Armenia had a war back in, very recently, and Russian peacekeeping soldiers were at the disputed area. But recently, Russia relocated the peacekeeping experienced soldiers from the Stepanakert, if I'm pronouncing it right, area. So to relocate the soldiers to the Ukraine-Russia war. So do you think the aftermath of Russia-Ukraine war will affect the peace process between Azerbaijan and Armenia?
You see, let's start from the correct wording first. Russian peacekeepers present in the territory of Azerbaijan, which is called Karabakh, currently, in accordance with the trilateral statement signed on 10th of November 2020. This is coming from this trilateral statement. It is not Stepanakert. It's an oath and justified and not just a name which was given to that place during the Soviet period. What you mentioned, the Stepanakert, it's given by the Soviet authorities to that place. It was named after Stepan Shauman by the Soviet authorities for his, well, we don't know for what, because actually he was involved in killing a peaceful population in Azerbaijan, you know. So previously this place was called Hankendi, and after restoration of our independence in 1991, it's also called the Hankendi. All entire area never use the word disputed. It's not a disputed, because disputed means something which is really disputed and nobody knows whom doesn't belong to. This is internationally recognized territory of Azerbaijan. So we never use a disputed. Okay, so it is not a disputed area.
Okay,
Also.
I stand corrected.
Yes. So secondly, so they are relocated from the place. No, they are not. So according to trilateral statement, it implies the commissioning of a new road within the 3 years after the signing of a new road connecting Armenia's territory with the Hankendi. So we did it in 1 year. We constructed in our territory the new road, which is bypassing the city of Lachin, Azerbaijani city, which was occupied by Armenia's armed forces in 1992. So we already reconstructed this road, and it's a very good road, 32 kilometers of new road. Nobody is depriving on someone from connection. So there is a connection, and this is the new road. And according to trilateral statement, it has to be commissioned. And the Lachin, also, city of Lachin and other areas must come under our control. That is what the document also says. That's what we did. When I said that our word is our signature, and our signature is our action. We follow this. We follow strictly what we are signed for.
So the Russia-Ukraine war will not affect your peace agreements with the Azerbaijan, with the Armenia? You believe so?
I mentioned that, first of all, why it should affect. We already solved our conflict. Now there is a peace agenda in our region, which we follow. First of all, we do everything, we demonstrate a goodwill. Our leadership of the country demonstrated our goodwill. Our president demonstrated a goodwill. We propose to normalize relations with Armenia by signing a peace treaty and to start negotiations direct on peace treaty. We propose to recognize our international borders. International recognized borders. Without this, we cannot live in peace, right? If the neighbor is not recognizing your international border, how you can live in peace? So it was us who actually proposed to do this. But it must not be misunderstood as a weakness, because previously our goodwill had been misunderstood. So we won the war. We restored our territorial integrity, and we proposed the peace agenda, to our neighbor, Armenia. We already formed even a group or a commission members who are going to do with this normalization and on a peace treaty, the talks on peace treaty.
So can I add a follow-up question here, just to make it even more clear? So the area you call Hankendi, I think there are Armenian minorities. I think Armenian minorities live.
They're living there. Yes.
They're living there. Yeah. So I was reading the Ombudsman statement earlier, and he was saying the trilateral agreement. We were not in the agreement. We didn't sign the agreement. So he portrayed himself not an extension of the Armenian army. We are separate. We have our own claim, and we have our own purpose. So we are not bind to the agreement you're mentioning. That's what he's saying. And after that, I think there was some clashes last week, and he was also saying 2 Armenians were killed by Azerbaijan's troops.
First of all, let's make they have never been a party to a conflict. Never been. There were only 2 parties to the conflict. Armenia and Azerbaijan previously. You're talking about a population which is living now in this area called Hankendi, in our territory. Yes, the Armenians. Altogether, the presence of Armenian minority in this area is less than 30,000. Less than 30,000. 30,000 of Armenians also, apart from that area, are citizens of Azerbaijan. As I mentioned, we're a multicultural state and multi-conventional, and they enjoyed all the rights. So, what he says, or someone says, I mean, let's not listen to no one and whose name is nothing, okay? Because, okay, someone wants to portray them as a party to this, to some conflict. Then why did they needed a connection with Armenia?
I think they're claiming as a separatist.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, this is what trilateral statement actually implied, and actually it mentions that all the Armenian armed forces must be withdrawn from our territory, from territories of Azerbaijan. This is a territory of Azerbaijan, and they must. Some troops were left, and they must leave. That's it. What you mentioned, the last clashes, saying that 2 Armenians were killed or something. Well, let's start that. Say that there's Armenian armed forces, or who them represent there, killed by sniper our soldier. And then there was a operation which actually was in line with the trilateral statement also. That is because Armenia has not implemented it so far, the entire statement. So they have not withdrawn the armed forces from our territory completely. And we have not yet received the communication with the Nakhchivan area, which is also actually mentioned in a trilateral statement. So far, it's already almost 2 years. We have not received. And we don't even see signs that they want to implement it. This is a pure violation of the trilateral statement, which actually we follow. And we demand others also to follow. That's it.
2 questions here. Quick questions. Okay. One, Russia was responsible to make sure that the Armenian troops leave the Azerbaijan territory, but they didn't realize it, the troops are still there. So why didn't Russia make sure the Armenians have left your territory, one? And the other thing, the Armenians living in the area, according to, again, to some medias, they're saying they fear if the troops leave the Azerbaijan territories, they fear of ethnic cleansing coming from.
Everybody thinks according to their mentality, let's say it like this. The ethnic cleansing against whom? Against Armenians?
Against Armenians in the Hankendi area.
You see, it's like an uneasy conscience betrays itself. You know this proverb, right? This is or another proverb I will say also, like on the thief and the hat is on. It was Azerbaijan who actually suffered from ethnic cleansing, because Armenia's armed forces, when they were invading our territories, they were ethnically cleansing everything and looting all the territories, destroying it. When our soldiers were liberating their territories, they even couldn't find one building to raise a flag because everything was destroyed, completely razed to the ground. With cultural heritage, with infrastructural objects, with the housings, they were looting even the flooring in the houses and the windows. Our people, when they were living, and it was completely populated by Azerbaijanis, our people, where they were in the house, they were locking it up and taking the keys with them because one day they believed they will return it. And this day has come. But where they will return? There is no house. Why? If it was their territory, could they do this? So the real owners came already to this territory. And we're restoring it. You know? This minority already was proposed to have Azerbaijani citizenship and enjoy the whole complete rights under our constitution. As all other Armenians actually living in Azerbaijan do this. There is nothing like, let's fear, okay, if I fear something, I will not go out. So, and this is portrayed as a already fact? No. We never follow this. You know, and this is the future, peaceful coexistence.
And why did Russia fail to deliver?
Fail to what?
According to your trilateral agreement?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. It is a matter of our talks with them.
So let's talk about Ethiopia, since we are here.
Yes, sure, of course.
So in which specific areas your country would like to work with Ethiopia in its bilateral relationships? Do you have specific areas, interest areas?
You know, let's talk deeper a little bit, yes. First of all, I'm very glad that I'm working in the country which is called Lands of Origins. I'm really fascinated by your country, by Ethiopia, by its culture, by its people, by its hospitality. And we have so many similarities with you. In terms of hospitality, in terms of multiculturalism, in terms of people-to-people relations. We have some historical background with your country. I'm not talking about the medievals also, but let's start just from modern period. During the Soviet Union, our well-known cultural delegation, including well-known people in the field of culture, visited your country during your Emperor His Majesty Haile Selassie's period. It was in the end of 50s. Then in 60s, from 60s up to the collapse of the Soviet Union, we accepted 8,000 African students, Azerbaijan only. 8,000 African students. Out of them, 10% were from Ethiopia only. 800 during that period. They received education in Azerbaijan. And now here I meet sometimes with them. We often meet, and so we believe that they would also help to develop our bilateral relations and the people to exchange as well. So in 2000s, when we already started going through the fast pace of development, we restarted our scholarships and for African countries and including Ethiopia. And now we also have students from Ethiopia studying in our country. So this is one field of bilateral relations. It's a humanitarian. I believe that our universities also could have a direct contacts, and that's what I would like to promote also, and I'm doing this. In trade and investment, we also have a very good opportunities. Very good opportunities. I would not talk now about what is going to happen or how it is going to happen, because these steps will be taken soon, and you will, I'm sure, we will see the boost of our economic relations in the near future. This year, on 2nd of November, we will mark 30 years of our diplomatic relations, establishment of diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and Azerbaijan. We have many fields, including this field of a very crucial field, which is called the public service delivery, prospective fields for cooperation. And that's what we're also working with our Ethiopian partners to see how we can do this. Well, for example, in public service delivery, Azerbaijan has achieved significant heights. We developed one of the best public service delivery systems in the world. So, and we are ready to share it with our Ethiopian friends.
So during the war between the Ethiopian federal government and the Tigrayan People Liberation Front, TPLF, Azerbaijan was accused of assisting the federal government by drones. Is it true?
You know, this is the first time I hear it from you, because I haven't heard that the name of Azerbaijan. Never heard about this. You know, when I just heard this question from you, I just, oh, really? No, we don't.
It was all over social media, you know, some 5 countries. Yeah, and
Social
Azerbaijan
media?
was, yeah.
Azerbaijan. Well, let's say that the social media, you know, there is there any evidence or official statement or something? No.
So I'd say no.
Of course.
So if we're talking about Ethiopia, somehow Azerbaijan and Ethiopia are similar in keeping the distances between superpowers, you know, and working on the thin line. So Azerbaijan is the chair of the non-aligned movement currently, I think, and does Azerbaijan have a plan to gather these countries and, you know, strengthen their relationships and, you know, to have a camp that's free of superpowers and have their own say in their own territory?
Well, we're the chair of non-aligned movement, and I would like to express a gratitude to all members of non-aligned movement, including Ethiopia, for trusting us as a chair. Within non-aligned movement, we share the same principles with Ethiopia. Bandung principles, 10 main principles of, including those and very important principles like respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity of the states, refrain from use of force against the territorial integrity of other states, and non-interference in the internal affairs of each other. That is the position.
Okay, and also I think this one will be a very helpful questions for our Ethiopian viewers. You know, Azerbaijan has passed through a hell in the past decades, like 2 destructive wars in a few decades, and despite the destructive wars, you have managed to boom your economy. To keep your economy growing in this level is very intriguing. What could Ethiopia draw from this? What lesson could Azerbaijan give to Ethiopia?
You know, saying that giving a lesson doesn't sound good.
I think there should have been some mystery, you know.
So because we don't give a lessons, you know, to anyone. I would say that, for example, on our experience, what we did, I can say that, you know. Yes, we went through the 2 wars. One war, a few years, when Azerbaijan was a newly independent state, had a political turmoil inside, when had a and the time Armenia seizing this situation, occupied our territories. We had human capital. We had the resources. In 1994, in September, on 20th September, we signed the contract of the century. At that time, our national leader, Haydar Aliyev, managed to come to this point and laid a foundation for our development, future development. We, as a people, were very united. United around our state, united around our identity, united around our leader. At the time in the beginning of 90s and having this war with Armenia, who had territorial claims to us, we didn't, we were new in this modern world. But we had our leader, Haydar Aliyev. And all entire people trusted him. All nation trusted him. He was a visionary. He's our teacher. What to do in the new world. And he laid all these fundamentals, which we enjoy nowadays, at that time. We followed this and we trusted him.
So in your statement, you said the Azerbaijan people are very united around the state and their leaders, but it's also a very multicultural country. So what's the strategy to keep this imbalance, a multicultural country but united? Because it has similarities with Ethiopia.
Well, I don't see any contradiction in this. Absolutely. I don't see any contradiction in this. Our state is our house. We live in our house and everybody protects it. Absolutely. The unity was also shown during the 44-day patriotic war when we restored our territorial integrity. The whole entire people in country were united, regardless of their cultural, religious, ethnic affiliations. And everybody was living only with the sense of victory. Only with the sense. And beyond the borders of our country, because we have a big diasporas in other countries, they also were like this. So there is no contradiction between this. Yeah, we should not say the balance or something.
Yeah, so, I am asking this because we have the same conversations in Ethiopia because it's a very diverse country, but sometimes we find conflicts troubling us. So there's this conversation always, this multiculturalism, multi-ethnicity, multi-religion as a problem to unity. Some people claim this. So I wanted our viewers to have your insights regarding this, how to keep the balance between that.
That's, as I mentioned, in our countries like this, it's working like that. Our state is our house. We have also very mixed population. Even within families, also interconfessional and interethnic kind of families. So, but everybody is Azerbaijani, regardless of ethnic affiliation, religious affiliation, about anything, cultural affiliation. So the restoration of our borders and territorial integrity was a right course. The course occupying the mind of all people in our country. Everybody wanted this. And everybody was living with this feeling for so long. Everybody was living with the feeling of justice, to restore the justice. And that's why and our people are united. And our unity is now even growing more after this.
So I think we're coming to our last question. Azerbaijan have an embassy here in Addis. I think it's the only embassy around here. You're the Chargé affairs for Rwanda, for Djibouti and other countries. So as a newly emerging power, we're really happy that you open your embassy here in Addis. But if I may ask, what's the reason behind? Why do you choose Ethiopia? Why not Rwanda? What is the interest of Azerbaijan in the region?
In Addis, yeah. We can consider also what I mentioned, some background coming from past, including that Addis Ababa is a diplomatic capital of Africa. Of course, the opening this embassy in here, it's opening embassy in Africa, and there is African Union Commission as well here. So besides the bilateral, we also have a multilateral here with all African continent. We're new here. We opened the embassy in 2014. We have big plans for bilaterals, for Africa also. And we will follow this path of expanding our relations with African countries.
So I hope this is treating you well and you're loving it. I think we're done with our questions, but if you want to address anything and if you feel like you need to say something that we didn't cover, the floor is yours.
I would like to say that this year we celebrate the year of Shusha. 2022 is a year of Shusha in our country. Shusha is a city in Karabakh, which was liberated on 8th of November 2020, marking the end of 44-day patriotic war. After this, the statement was signed, trilateral statement. It's a sacred city for each Azerbaijani around the globe. 300 years since its establishment in 1752 by Panah Ali Khan, Azerbaijani ruler of Karabakh at that time. Each and every meter there in Shusha is a cultural heritage. Each Azerbaijani lives with this thought to visit that city. And I just recently came from Baku, and I was lucky enough to go to Shusha city and see it. So it was a cradle of our culture. It was cradle of our education that, historically. It's a crown of Karabakh region, the most beautiful place in our country and in the region as well, broader region, if we say. We had also during our event, we had the exhibition of Shusha city, of pictures taken there. And when you were in our embassy and you saw these pictures there, and it's really beautiful. Thank you very much for hosting me in your studio. I hope I answered your questions in a way you wanted me to answer, precise. I tried to be as precise as I could be. Thank you very much.
Ambassador Ruslan Nasibov, we thank you very much for being our guest and coming to our studio.
Thank you very much.
Dear our viewers, this was our conversation with the Azerbaijani ambassador in Ethiopia, Rwanda, Kenya, and Djibouti. This was the conversation. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much.
Winter, you see, the snow.
Oh.
And this is also snow. It's already spring. And this is pure snow. This is Karabakh Hotel. I have been also there. This is a pure snow, you see. This is a winter. You see? Look.
That one is summer.
Yes, you see, it's a look from that place, from this place, you know, just a different angle.
The terrains and everything, even the texture, it looks like Ethiopia.
Yeah, you see, terrain is very, very close to you. But yes. the thing is that you have a tropical flora and fauna, and we have like this higher, yes, another one, not a tropical.
But
moderate
you
climate.
said in the south you have the semi-tropical.
So subtropical, yes. Subtropical, you see.
So that gives you a very rich environment for agriculture, right? You can grow different things.
Yes.
How big is Azerbaijan?
It's 80,000 only square kilometers, but it has so many climate zones. We have 11 climate zones of 9 climate zones out of 11 in the world. 9
wow.
in one small area. Yes.
That's huge.
Yeah.
How about
in
time
7
zone?
hours, if you just drive by car through all the country, you just can experience all these climate zones.
Wow.
Really, yeah.
The time zone, is it one?
Yes, time zone is one. Yeah. From, for example, subtropical, you will see the humid and everything there. From subtropical up to semi-desert-like areas, mountain areas, like Alpic zone areas, you know. This is moderate climate areas. So this is interesting.
So this is an old.
This is Shusha, which is actually just, you know, this picture was taken in winter this year. So you see the destruction, you see. So this is also the mosque, actually historical mosque, you know. This is architecture is also only for this area. This, you know, you see this online, right? Yeah, yes, you see. But it's now destroyed. Everything will be restored. Everything will be restored. We preserve our history and we preserve our cultural heritage, and this is our identity. Yeah.
So can you explain a bit about Shusha and the occupied land?
So this area was occupied for a very long time. From beginning of 1990s up to 2020, November. Our Lawrence army just liberated these areas, and Shusha including Shusha on 8th November. It was liberated on 8th November. And then trilateral document was signed, declaration. And Armenian armed forces had to withdraw from other areas, from Aghdam, from Azerbaijan and Armenia. They withdrew, but they didn't have not withdrawn from here. Also, it was envisaged by the trilateral statement. They had to leave. Last clashes also, last operation like this, because they didn't want to leave. They don't want. So I showed you that the presumably this new road has been constructed here already. It's ready. So they must leave this territory to us. They don't want.
During the first war, there were Azerbaijanis displaced from this area.
All these areas, yes. 750,000 only from these areas.
So, do you try to relocate them to their?
Of course, but it requires restoration works there. So the government is conducting the large-scale rehabilitation restoration works there. We already commissioned the international airport here. Actually, in July, I had this chance to come to Fizuli International Airport by plane. I can send you the pictures also. So another international airport is going to be commissioned here in Zangilan. Another in Lachin also, soon in 2024.
You have like 7 international airports, right?
We have 7 international airports and 2 more coming up. Yeah, yes, in this area, yes, yeah. So in terms of infrastructure, we're ahead of many EU countries, yes, and the roads, yes, of course. It's like what is called the middle corridor, but Trasica, it's transportation corridor connecting China with Europe through Caspian Sea. It's multimodal, but it's much faster and saves a lot of money also. So we have a port here in Baku also. They're connected to railways, you know. So we're very much well connected with in terms of infrastructure already. So we have a railway coming through Georgia to Turkey also. We have a railway connecting us with Russia, and railway used to be, we had a connection in past with Iran through this area, through Julfa. There is from Julfa, there is a railway going to Iran. But due to this war and the conflict with Armenia just closed this. Now they had to open it by trilateral document, statement they signed. So there is no sign that they're going to open it.
When did you expect them to open?
They had to open it immediately. So we are patient, but not unlimitedly. They must open it. They must open it. Yes, this communication, and this actually also important for the entire region. It's a railway connecting Russia with Iran and going also to Turkey from here. It's another road, not passing by through Georgia, but from here, through this area. It's actually faster to Iran. So another also road is going to be here. This part it's not visible there. So there are approximately 160 kilometers are supposed to be constructed of railway, connecting our railway with Iranian railways from south as well. But here we have shorter. It's only 40 kilometers here, even less. And it used to be like 100 and over 122 kilometers. Now we are restored our control over the border with Iran, on our state border, and we had a railway here. They demolished it. They just demolished it. Now we are at a fast pace. Our government is reconstructing this. It will be by the end of next year, already some. So they must make it ready. Must make it ready. They will. Whether they want or don't, they will.
I have one more question. Why do you keep your old president's picture?
He's our national leader. You know what I was talking about Haidar Ali, if you remember?
Yeah.
Haidar Ali.
You were saying the people were unified around him?
Yeah, at that time, yes. So everybody trusted him. He's our national leader.
So is he seen as a father of Azerbaijan?
Yes. He is actually laid the foundation what we have today. Yes. And then Hamadi, just for current president, he continued this path. And that's what we reached. You know, we're so much united around our leaders.
Have you had in history?
4. The 4th.
Also, Haidar Ali is seen as the father of the nation.
Yes, he's national leader, status of national leader. And personally, when I was studying in university at that time, in the middle of 1990s, when everything was happening, we were at the edge of collapse, and then suddenly people called our national leader to come to Baku and take the lead of the nation. He was elected a president, and then suddenly everything started changing. So he had a vision how to make it, because his experience, during the Soviet Union, was enormous. He actually was at the top leadership of the Soviet Union. He was what we call nowadays Deputy Prime Minister of the Soviet Union. A member of a political bureau of the Soviet, the supreme body, decision-making body in the Soviet Union. So he had so much experience. Actually, when I was studying in university, I was not skipping any our national leaders' speech or statement on a meeting. I was learning. We were learning from him how even to behave, how to speak. Yeah. Everything. And everything the foundation was laid down at the time. After 25 years, now when we 30 years, when we just 25, okay, we just look behind and we see that every and each step taken by the national leader, it was had such a far-going perspective. Everything in our law system, in building up the statehood, how the state bodies must operate. Every single thing. Now we see this. At that time, it was. Yes, now we see the result when we had the war and everything, entire state, with people and the government and everybody got united, and they're working like a single mechanism. That's the most important.
Thank you.
Thank you.